Hi, um, hello from Vandu once again. Longer hair, thicker goatee. Again being asked to do another one of these, and so I was wondering what to talk to you about this time, and I'm going to go with mental health awareness. Don't switch off. And the reason for it is I'm sat in my box, thunderstorm going off outside, and it just came to me while I was in the shower, where most of my best ideas seem to occur. And how mental health issues, or somebody with mental health problems, is very much like the current lockdown that we're all enduring right now, no matter where you are. So what's happened now is that everybody was living a pretty normal life, going about their day, and then all of a sudden we're all forced into a box. We're all forced to stay into this box, and we can go out if we want to go out, but we're restricted by what we do. When we go out, don't get too close to somebody, don't touch people, don't do this, don't do that. It's a restriction, it's a step away from what we normally accept. And so we again get forced into sort of routines that we wouldn't normally do, or exaggerated routines of what we normally did, which is something that somebody that has a mental health problem endures every day of their life. Their boxes here and up here forces them against their will, if you like, to do things that's what's considered against the norm and what they wouldn't want to normally do, and restricts them what they do and how they interact socially, which is exactly how everybody who's enduring a lockdown right now is doing. So it gives people an insight as to how it is for somebody that has a mental health problem. And mental health problems vary. More commonly nowadays you hear depression, obviously, bipolar, for example, OCD, eating disorders, personality disorders, PTSD, and many others to the extremes. And the problem with it is that why I say awareness is that because it's not socially acceptable to talk to somebody if you have a mental health problem. It's a very difficult topic for somebody to relate to. If somebody with a physical disability approaches you, or you're approaching somebody with a physical disability, subconsciously your mind is processing this. You can see their physical problem. They have whether it's a genetic problem or something brought on by trauma, an amputee or something like that, however what it is. So you're processing this because you can physically see it. So mentally you are preparing yourself of how you're going to interact with this person. So you have in your mind your own sort of acceptable way of approaching it socially. We socially accept, as broadly speaking, the LGBT, I'm missing something. What am I missing? Q. Thank you, Wilson. Q. What does Q mean? And we accept that it's socially acceptable, and we know how to respond to that and how to react to that, and quite rightly so. Everybody should live the life that they want to lead. But if somebody goes to somebody that you may have known for some time, it comes to a friend and it says, I'm suffering from, I don't know, let's say bipolar, okay, for as an example. Now, what will happen next, generally as a rule, is that person that you are talking to, you've just opened up to, they will take a step back. Some people take a physical step back, but their body language immediately takes a step back, and because I don't know how to deal with this. I can't see it. You can't see the coronavirus, you don't know it's there. I didn't know he had it. The same with the coronavirus, you don't know they have it. You don't know who has it, who doesn't. So it's invisible. Okay. How do I react to this? How do I respond? Do I put my hand on his shoulder? Am I condescending if I do that? So nobody knows how to react or respond to this. It's not very often that people will stand their ground or even take a step forward towards this person who's actually climbed a bloody large mountain to come across and say to somebody who may have known forever or whatever, and just say, I have a problem. And the reason why they don't do that is because of the stigma that's attached to it. It's because people just assume it's a mental problem. The word mental immediately conjures imaginations, oh, he's going to go psychopathic, or we're all doomed, he's going to kill us all. And it's just not that at all, And how this relates to everybody's current situation is that, we're all being forced into a position that we don't want to be in. Okay, and like this thunderstorm outside, somebody that has a mental health problem, all of these thoughts and ideas are electrical impulses that bounce around everybody's brain, but these just bounce around chaotically, and there's nothing they can do about it. There's nothing you can do about this lockdown. It's temporary. It will end. But for somebody with a mental health problem, it's not necessarily temporary, So they not always can see an end. There's not always the help there for them. It's not always the health services are dramatically underfunded for this. There's so many people that are untreated with this and cannot get treatment prior to coronavirus, during and after. And after that actually is probably the greater concern, because the mental health services will be inundated with people that have either had and it's been exasperated, or didn't realise they had a mental health problem until it's been forced up, so they've been put under this microscope. So the point is really that if you do know, what's the first thing you did when you got locked down? One of the first things that pretty much everybody did is you reached out. You reached out on Facebook. You wanted to communicate. Your means to communicate, to interact with people, have been taken away from you dramatically. So you're using social media a hell of a lot more than what you ever did before, because your desire, the human's psyche, to communicate and to relate to somebody else, whether it's small, big or whatever, it is there. It's inbuilt in our psyche. We can't help it. You may have even added other social media to your norm. So you've gone beyond Facebook. You've added Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. So you're just reaching out, and that's somebody with a mental health problem, no matter what it is. He's trying to do that all the time, but can't, because they feel fearful of exposing themselves and being accepted into society and being able to talk about it. So. At the end of all of this, we'll all come rising out the ground, like the phoenix from the flames, and reborn. And I want people to just be more attentive to those, particularly now, if you know people that are normally quite outgoing and they've just regressed into themselves, then maybe they just want to, or maybe you just reach out and say, are you okay? Sometimes people just don't want to. Sometimes people talk too much, like me, for example. So, it's tough. It's tough on everybody. I'm not saying that people with a mental health problem deserve more attention than people without. My point is that being in a lockdown is very much like somebody having a mental health problem. You're in a box. You can't get out the box. When you're allowed out, you're restricted outside of that box. The box. So I hope some of that makes sense. Stay safe.